working with the three strands of being: creation, preservation, and destruction. The ancient Vedic texts describe three primal forces that relate to the creation of the universe. As microcosms, as human beings, these forces are at work with us every moment, and we can learn how to work with them consciously with intention to improve our lives. To create something new in our lives, we often need to let go of that which is no longer serving our highest good. Intentionally letting go is an act of destructive creativity, and I mean this in a positive sense. Perhaps you've heard the phrase forgive, but don't forget. When we forgive, we're releasing our energetic ties to an existing pattern by coming into a new conscious relationship with that dynamic. As we release our own resistance and come into a state of perceptual neutrality, which is a state of inner freedom, we cease to unconsciously cooperate with that old dynamic. We shift into a new perspective that brings us more flexibility in our consciousness because we're not grasping and we're not seeking aversion from that state, but we're neutral to it. We're letting go of it so we can move on from it. And again, this releasing relates to that destructive aspect of the creative cycle and being able to wield that with intention. And so destruction is not always a negative thing. It actually enables us to let go of that which we've been clinging to so we can move forward. And forgiveness doesn't mean that we forget what happened, because to learn and to move forward and to grow, we then preserve the insight that comes from the experience. That second level of the creative process, we move from destruction to preservation. We preserve the insight that we've gained from that experience. By gathering wisdom in this way, we actually develop that ground of being upon which we stand. Literally, we're building our embodied understanding. And if you work with the tree of life, this relates to the sphere of Thoth, which is said to gather the kernels of wisdom from our various life experiences, even across lifetimes. And this theme relates with the idea of the memory of nature, that there's a sort of quantum field of information, and that everything is feeding into this through the unfoldment of the universe. Consciousness researcher Rupert Sheldrake calls this effect morphic resonance. It's the idea that as things happen in nature, they become building blocks upon which future growth occurs. There's a sort of memory field. Mystical traditions know this as the Akashic records, a sort of universal memory field containing information of everything that's ever existed. And this ever developing record is feeding into the growing collective consciousness of humanity, the spirit of humankind as a species, and vice versa. As we grow and develop, we're feeding into that universal memory. So it creates a positive cycle. So even if at times our individual acts appear insignificant on the cosmic scale, our actions and our choices really do matter. What you do matters, because your choices, your actions are tempering and co-directing that larger flow of human potential, the growth of the human spirit into new lines of development as a whole. We're each contributing to that as a leading edge of creativity. We can choose to live from memory, from clinging to the past, from old pains, old wounds, old hurts, and our reactive responses to those. Or we can choose to step into a new path of creativity, let go of those old patterns, learn from them, grow in a new direction based on what we'd really love to create, what our vision calls us to create. So every choice matters, every action does matter. In the Hermetic Kabbalistic tradition, this place of universal memory is accessed through the telism of the Great Library, which is said to occur on the solar plane of Tiferet, which is the living heart of the tree of life. It's a sphere on the tree which mediates the power of redemption. But redemption of what? Well, of our ignorance, of those shells of misconception that we hold in our minds and in our energies that are mediating unbalanced forces in our lives because of our lack of clear perception. So when we do our inner work and we work through this process of forgiveness, forgiving ourselves, another person, or a situation that's been feeling out of balance, we're actually engaged in that work of redemption. We're releasing our previous perceptual position through an act of positive destruction. And we're also building insight through preserving the memory of those lessons learned that came through that interference pattern. Although now, through the forgiveness, we've released our enmeshment with that disharmonious energy field. We've moved beyond it, but we've carried the lessons with us. And this releasing sets the stage for that new creativity to emerge. And there's that saying that nature abhors a vacuum. So consciousness, as we set that release, naturally reaches for a new position, a new expression of our potential. So, through this inner practice of forgiveness and redemption, we come to experience more inner clarity. That light that's within us and around us becomes more apparent because it's not clouded by that old interference. Things start to move easier, there's more flow, there's more grace and joy because we've let go of that weight of those old perceptions that's been holding us down, keeping us in one spot where it feels like we're paddling as hard as we can, but we're not getting anywhere. Now we've released that anchor and now we're starting to flow again. So this shift comes through a change in those old conditioned beliefs and assumptions about the world that we've been holding in our deep subconscious. And for those who want guided custom support and tools to release old patterns, self-doubt, self-criticism, worrying about what others will think or say when you step onto your visionary path and really say yes to what's calling you, you can check out the link in the description for this video and learn more about my Light Within private coaching program. My unique process really brings together several modalities to support this work. We work with the power of rapid reprogramming, which is a method for quickly identifying and clearing unhelpful subconscious beliefs that are ready to release. We work with energy mastery skills for accessing enhanced inner clarity and increased intuition. And we also invite in connection with the earth, with the elements and the wild beings for bringing grounding and expanding our awareness to those larger stories because there's so many insights that we can gain from nature that apply within our inner nature. So we work with all three of those in the coaching, and it's really amazing to see what happens when we work consciously with this system because it becomes possible to not only identify hidden patterns that have been stopping you in your tracks, sometimes for years or for decades, but to actually identify them and then release them. And then we can shift into that joy that comes when you accomplish your dreams and your goals because you have new energy, you have new confidence, you have new flow. You're not held in that interference pattern and paddling so hard, but that's dissipated. You're moving beyond it. You're in the flow of larger creativity. So in whatever you're doing, remember that the full power of creativity is always happening now. Yes, we can learn from the past, we can set intentions for the future, but the magic is always in this moment, right here, right now. So we can work with these three strands of releasing the past, preserving helpful insights and structures, and then building on them creatively to express more peace, joy, and purpose in our lives. So take that nugget with you today, chew on that, be well, and go create something amazing.